dual use conservation model is because when the land was subdivided in Koyaki, or in the larger group ranch that we are in, yes, when demarcation of this land was done, do I see you?
Yes. Sorry. Thank you.
So basically, when demarcation of this area was done, this is Pardamat is this brown block, this one,
Yes.
yeah, and this is Naboisho, which is one of the blocks within the larger group ranch that we have.
Okay.
Pardamat is another block. Motorogi, Online Motorogi was a different block. So Maranot here is also another block. So in the larger group ranch we had 5 blocks because this was another block.
Okay.
Tanek, this white area. So when the landowners sat, the land adjudication committee, when they were subdividing land to the people, they already had in mind conservation. And they set aside Maranot, which is this block, Alare Motorogi, which is these 2 blocks, Naboisho as conservation areas.
Okay.
And one of the largest block which was left behind was this PCA. Pardamat was left behind is a settlement block for the landowners. So all the landowners in Maranot, Alare Motorogi, Naboisho are living here. More than 80% of all these landowners are landowners, and they are also living in PCA. So you would wonder why people are not living in Naboisho, why people are not living in Maranot. So let me use Naboisho as an example because it's where you know. And typically you can only see tourist facilities and livestock probably grazing during the day and coming out of the conservancy and wildlife. They are able to maintain this because all the landowners in Naboisho have land within PCN so that they are living in Pardamat.
Okay.
So that's how it became a dual use model of conservancy. Because all the landowners were pushed and it was the last block. There was no elsewhere. There was nowhere else that you can push people from Pardamat to.
Okay.
So that's the history.
Yes.
From when people now moved into Pardamat, settlement coming in, then pressure was realized on the land.
Right.
And the reason why this particular block was set aside for human settlement it's because of a number of reasons. Already there were social amenities within this area, even from before. And what attracted people to live in this area from early in the years is because of access to natural resources that are important to people, which are equally important to this wildlife, but they do not realize.
Yes.
So since conservation was not based on science, it was based on, this is where, from the community knowledge, they knew this area is rich with natural resources. You talk of salt lakes, you talk of water, you talk of vegetation, which are very important for the survival of people and their livestock. That's why they were living here, and that's why they set aside this place as a settlement area. Then, of course, those other areas for wildlife conservation. And the other main reason why they also thought it's worthy having Naboisho, Maranot, Alare Motorogi as conservation areas is because of their buffering or they are adjacent to the reserve. So when the people came here, now pressure started on the land, all the wildlife, especially during the dry season, who come to Pardamat because they are natural resource they cannot find in Nabosho, but they will find here. You talk of water, it's available in Pardamat throughout the year. Good vegetation, like you can tell on the hills and all that.
Yes.
So, because of that reason, there's a lot of pressure on this land. Then the increase in human-wildlife conflict was realized.
Yes.
So, as a result of the conflict, now the landowners started protesting, saying, "Hey, especially, hey," and they were complaining to the Kenya Wildlife Service, who are heavily here because there was poaching of wildlife. I mean, especially the elephants in this area by poachers. Like in a year, there was a year that we recorded 26 cases of poaching within Pardamat alone. Then it was hitting the head news of in the country. So when there was that protest from the community, some were like, "You guys, you must take your wildlife from us because we gave you land town in Nabosho for wildlife conservation. So take this wildlife to the land that we set aside for them." Some are, "Hey, look here, I don't have any other plot in Nabosho, I don't have a parcel, or I don't own land in Nabosho, I don't own land in either of the conservancies, and I have a lot of wildlife in this land, and therefore I also equally want to benefit the same way my neighbor is benefiting from Nabosho, Marano, and all that." These lease fees, bursaries, and all the benefits that are accrued from conservation.
Okay.
So it's dynamic because you had, two divides. People that don't want to see this wildlife because they already set aside land for conservation, and some people that will say, "Hey, it's also an opportunity for us to benefit, so you should pay us." Then, of course, it was not possible to take the wildlife from here. Because they're naturally moving. Nobody is driving them to this place. And exactly what we did was now mobilizing this community to come into to form an association, put their land together for conservation. And we branded this area as a wildlife conservation area. And we also, from the very word go, just designed it as a dual use conservancy. That what we do, let's promote coexistence. And that's actually our vision, is to promote coexistence of wildlife and people with their livestock within the same space for mutual benefit. In the sense that this wildlife is benefiting from land being hosted by the landowners, but equally the landowners are also getting income from conservation. And other benefits. You talk of employment, you talk of bursaries to their school-going children and all that.
Wow. Yes.
So, with time, I talked about two divides. We had people that were interested in benefits from wildlife conservation and people that wanted to have wildlife relocated. And the ones that wanted wildlife relocated started putting up fences. You can tell from the mess that you see outside there. Yeah, it's messy, but it's what having the mess around us and not actually blocking wildlife corridors. So basically, what they did is that in protest, they put up fences. Fencing their land, thinking they can keep off wildlife. And they can also make grass banks for their cattle. Then they fatten their cattle, take to the market, fetch money. So with the fencing, now again coming, remember I mentioned about presence of people. Now resulted into human-wildlife conflicts. Fencing again made it worse. For a number of reasons, people are putting up fences with electric wire, electric fences, and therefore the limited space that is left, is now what is used by people, livestock, and wildlife. especially dangerous one like elephants. You talk of, you know, even school-going kids will meet the elephants on the way, and you cannot escape because you will have a fence on the this side of the road and a fence on this right side of the road. The elephants are walking on the same road. Kids would want to use the same road to go to school.
Right.
So it became chaotic again.
Yes.
So with that now escalating and exploding everywhere, we now came to again there came another element of conflict, which is destruction of the same fences, which are costly when you put them up.
Right.
So the landowners now are facing losses because they are almost repairing fences every single morning because they are walked over or broken down by elephants.
Wow. And if you don't mind me cutting in to ask a question, what percentage of the population or the community would you say doesn't have fences up versus those that do?
I think it was almost. I'm not quite sure, but I think in Pardamat we had more than 50% of the land fenced.
Wow.
Almost more than 50% of the land fenced.
And understanding the benefits and everything that you told me about, are the landowners just, is there not enough of like people doing it for them to say, oh, okay, well, we should do this and we can benefit from this? Or how do you think you could resolve that with the fences?
I think that's what I was saying. There are a number of reasons why people are fencing. A fence is a protest, and the fencing started in 2016 in a small scale. 2017. In 2016, we got some small funding to lease southern part of PCA, because then again, what happened, we developed what we called a leasing plan.
Wow.
This is not a plan, but this is a picture of what is leased. So the plan was like, we had phase 1, which was starting from the blue down, from the blue down here. It was phase 1, so adjacent to the position. So what we wanted was actually to lease this land gradually, because it's quite a big space. There's no tourism. Even jump-starting tourism in PCA really would take time, and it's really taken time.
Right.
Because this is our 6th year of development.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember when we were forming Nabosho, because I was part of the same team that formed Nabosho as a conservancy or established Nabosho, it only took us 1 year to jumpstart tourism in Nabosho, because there was literally no settlement. So it was typical tourism that would happen in Nabosho. So this is a new model of conservation. That means new model of tourism. It's not the traditional tourism that we know. So you must look at different tourism for it to be able, and that's why we are now talking of, volunteers, aid tourism in Pardamat. We're talking of different tourist activities within the area, because it's not a typical area. So that is the reason why it was not easy for us to mobilize resources, lease land at once, and because it's a very expensive process. So what we did, we started leasing land down here. So that person that is adjacent to this one, the person adjacent to this guy, who did not get the chance to have his land leased, it's a protest. They put up a fence. Because you are paying this guy, you're not paying me, which is a question of resources. So why should I have my land free? So for that reason, we had the whole area almost fenced. thanks to the hills, because we have a lot of free space on the hillside. It's not easy for people, but they are trying to put up fences on the hill.
Wow.
So we started now leasing gradually, and at the moment we are at nearly 20,000, about 20,000 acres out of the 64,000 in areas, in that manner where we're trying to ensure we open contiguous space so that we can try to see how we can jumpstart tourism in the area.
Yes.
And and down here, this area, we're also doing a cattle business, which is part of the sustainability plan for PCA.
Wow.
So that's where we are at the moment, and basically we were looking at different options or income streams. Like I mentioned, cattle enterprise is one of them. We're trying to fatten steers, sell at a premium, then we run it as we commercialize a cattle enterprise, so that it can run. It can meet the cost of operation and probably leasing of land, because this is land that we are paying. We are renting out from landowners to have it opened. And the rate of renting here is quite low as compared to Naposho. Basically, people are living, and we don't have tourism yet. So that's one area. We're also targeting tourism, and that's why we relocated the current choir guiding school, expanded it into a college,
Okay.
which you will get to see. We expanded it into a college, and we will be targeting an educational tourism venture. So people like you will be staying in that area. People who want to stay for a long time to do research, for educational purposes, for everything. So we have that profession. The other thing is that we also are putting up a camp around this area, which is southeast of PCA, a high-end tourism facility, which is also looking at different activities, tourist activities. It's not the normal game viewing, game drives and all that. We'll be encouraging people that will want to do different activities in the Mara, probably safari, walking safaris, bird watching, horseback riding.
Yes.
Such kind of things.
Right.
Because I know there are a lot of repeat clients that are coming to the Mara that have been doing the same things over the years. For all the years I've been in the Mara, probably they've been coming to the Mara to see, to do game drives, go see normal